Recording in progress. Good evening and thank you for being here and welcome to the Weaverville Town Council meeting on Monday, March 27, 2023. I want to just challenge my colleagues to say that tonight's agenda is a fairly light one compared to most months we've had and compared to last week. There's no way that I can beat the record of my predecessors, Al and Dottie, but tonight's an opportunity for a personal best. It's up to you. So that being said, you all had an opportunity to review tonight's agenda. Are there any adjustments to tonight's agenda? If not, can I have a motion for the approval of tonight's agenda as written?
So moved.
Thank you, sir. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you very much. Any opposed? Great. We'll move on to conflicts of interest statement. Jennifer, do we have any potential conflicts this evening?
Well, you've got, I don't know that you have any, but it's a good opportunity just to check. We do have a couple of votes that we're asking you to do later on in the meeting. So it would be a good idea to check.
So it is the duty of the mayor and town council members to avoid both conflicts of interest and the appearances of such. Does any member have any known conflicts of interest with regard to matters on the agenda this evening? Great. Thank you very much. Item number 4, Town Manager Coffey, would you go over the consent agenda with us?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, everyone. On page 3, you will have the February 21st Town Council workshop minutes for your review and approval. On page 4, you have February 27th regular meeting minutes. On page 10, your monthly tax report is there, showing for the end of February at 99.12%. Page 15, we have a budget amendment for your approval. This is to account for property insurance claim of $19,779, and then also a $15,000 transfer from contingency into the police department, and this for the replacement of a vehicle that was totaled recently. Page 17, let's skip that one and come back to it. Does that sound okay with you?
Yes.
Go ahead and finish the others here.
Please do.
On page 19, you have an extension of the tax collections agreement. This is an extension, the original term of 3 years, which is due to expire June 30th of this year, 2023. We do have the attached extension of the tax collections agreement for your consideration, and this is carried forward the existing terms for the upcoming two fiscal years with an end date of June 30, 2025. This is for, if you take a look at page 23, just a reminder that we pay 2% of what is collected to Buncombe County for this agreement. Also to answer a question that was posed earlier, there's a difference in the timing on this agreement, and this is to get us more in line from 3 years, a 3-year term to a 2-year term, to get us in alignment with the other jurisdictions that Buncombe County collects for. That's the only change. There are no other additional costs associated at all.
Yeah, and Selena, could I,
Yes.
if I could just request what we just talked about too, that the 3 questions I had today you respond to, if you could just add those into the public record of the meeting tonight, so that's out there.
Okay, so for then public record, we would then add in the email and responses.
That's fine.
Correct?
Yeah, that way if any of the public has the same questions there.
Okay.
Do you want them attached to the minutes? Do you want them read into the record to the?
No,
minutes
to the
here?
minutes
See
is
it?
fine. Yeah, we don't need to read
Did
them.
everyone see the questions that Jeff had and the answers? Okay.
Yeah, I just want to make sure they're attached to the record.
Okay, we can do that. Okay, page 32. We are asking that you approve an attached contract for ABC Law Enforcement Services between the town and the ABC Board. there are no significant changes to this either. And then finally, on page 35, we're asking that you set a public hearing on code amendments for non-conforming lots, table of dimensional requirements, and mapping standards. We're asking that you set that public hearing for Monday, April 24th at 6 p.m. here in council chambers at Town Hall. And then, everything to you, Mr. Mayor,
Okay.
final consent agenda.
Jan Lawrence, can you come up here? I think everyone probably knows Jan Lawrence, but Jan didn't have a birthday. And I just wanted to read a proclamation for Jan Lawrence Day in the town of Weaverville, North Carolina. So whereas Jan Lawrence is and has been a local historian, preserving local documents, items, facts, and stories about Weaverville's history for present and future generations. And whereas Jan Lawrence was a vital person in the gathering and preservation of those historical items in her role as the Dry Ridge Museum by giving her time, money, and physical labor. That indeed there might not be a Dry Ridge Museum if it were not for her advocacy and that of the staff of the museum under her leadership. And whereas April 21st, 2023 is Jan Lawrence's birthday and she's becoming an octogenarian, now therefore I, Patrick Fitzsimmons, Mayor of Weaverville, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the town of Weaverville and the state of North Carolina, do hereby proclaim April 21, 2023, Jan Lawrence Day in town of Weaverville, and encourage those who see her or communicate with her on this day to wish her a happy birthday and thank her for her efforts in preserving the history of this great town. Thank you.
I love to recognize other people. I don't like to be recognized, but yes, Patrick, you did embarrass me and succeeded. It was pledging to do that. I'm very honored. I think in the proclamations that there's some things that are not very accurate. The board, the town council has recognized me now twice in the last 3 months. I had so much fun being the Grand Marshal. That was a blast. And I thank Clint Parker for getting his father-in-law's Miata and having his son drive it. Last June 14th and 17th, I had 2 strokes. And quite frankly, I wasn't thinking that I would be around at this particular time. But I'm here, and if I last till April 21st, I will make 80. And I know there are a lot of people in this town who are far older than 80. And we're all just kind of amazed that we've made it this far. Your daddy's how old? 96. We'll see. So, being at a meeting like this, I have to give you just a brief status report. Too old to dream, too old to flirt, too old to sit and dish the dirt, too old to drink, too old to pet, too old to boogie, not quite yet. To the force unexpectedly 80. I've thought a lot about Weaverville. You know I've spoken to you many times. I love Weaverville. My first trip here was 79 years ago. My karma has been in these mountains. You know that my 4th great-grandfather came in this valley in 1786. And his youngest son, Michael Montreville Weaver, stood where the pizza place is and gave land to build the town. And the town was named for Michael Montreville Weaver. So I wasn't born here, but I got here as fast as I could. This coming Friday, Andrew, we're going to have a coffee talk at the museum. And I was asked to do it. I kept telling them, now that I'm emeritus, that means I don't have to do a doggone thing. And they keep saying, but will you? And I say, I'd love to. So I named it the Bridge Over Troubled Trolleys. And if you study the history of the trolleys, they were a mess. They were always a mess. This is our trolley book that was lost until Friday. We found it in the museum. And I want to share just a couple of things with you, if you don't mind my taking just a minute. On Saturday afternoon, September the 4th, 1909, the Gazette News carried front page headlines on a detailed story which began, "Today is a day of rejoicing, for it witnesses the inauguration of through car service from Pack Square into the very heart of Weaverville." Weaverville is showing signs of great animation now that the road is being operated almost to its limits. Stopping less than a mile away, and land is changing hands and new buildings being constructed. The railway terminus will be right at the beautiful grove of Weaver College. Much is expected from the development of the 7-acre lake, which is to be built because fine roads and homes are constructed around it. Remember, this is 1902. The Stony Knob station was at the base of the knob. Avoiding its easternmost spur, the old highway turned down toward Ridge Creek, the Vance homestead in the hills. Near the top of the rise from the creek crossing, the road turned left and continued climbing toward Main Street. Well, that's the way they thought it would be best, except there was a more direct route, and that was taking a shortcut to the Coleman family property, just beyond the present intersection of Ridge Creek Road. From Coleman Cut on the east shoulder of Stony Knob, the land proceeded directly down and across to Lake Louise, an enlargement of Ridge Creek. The lake became a popular destination for outings, picnics, and parties, along with other entertainments popular in the days before World War I. So your vision matched the vision they had all those years ago. And the trolley asked that the Coleman property be divided, and as a payback, they would put in a bridge across from one Coleman sister to another Coleman sister. And that lasted till sometime in the 1950s, when a storm brought the bridge down, and it had to be redone, and then the highway department put a bridge that's debating. So I love Weaverville. It has been a special place to me my entire life, except for that very first year when I didn't know much. I learned to walk here. I don't know if I learned to talk here. Probably I was born talking. But thank you for coming to our rescue when we were forced out of the library. We love our new digs. People love the museum. You've been very kind and very generous and very thoughtful. And I want to thank you for your part in preserving the history of the town. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the town manager regarding the consent agenda? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you, sir. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Manager Coffey, would you give us the town manager's report?
Yes, sir, thank you. Beginning on page 50, just a very brief report, and just to provide to you a copy of the press release from the North Carolina Division of Water Resources. This is a commendation for the water treatment plant, and we actually just found out about this just recently, that the town's water treatment plant has received, among 16 other facilities, the Gold Star honor for North Carolina Area-Wide Optimization Award. You see a copy of the press release there. Basically, this is given to systems that demonstrate outstanding turbidity removal, and all of the other the particles that they take care of regularly, so that we have quality drinking water. So we wanted to provide that to you. Also, just to give you an update, the TSA, who is the company we're purchasing our audio equipment from, they're being impacted by supply chain issues like everyone else. So they are quite a bit behind on repairing our audio system for us, but we do anticipate having some equipment in hopefully by the April workshop. So that is moving. It's just very slow getting that equipment in. That's all in my report.
Thank you. And interestingly, that ever since we decided to get new equipment, the old stuff seems to be working pretty good. And Randall, thanks for optimizing us. Next item is item 6, general public comments. And Ms. Lawrence, I know you were signed up, but did you want to speak again, or was that's what I thought. Thank you. Next is item 7, our discussion and action items. First up is annexation agreement with Woodfin, the Sourwood Inn area. And town manager, would you give us an update on that?
Yes, sir. As you'll recall, back in February 2021, the town of Weaverville and the town of Woodfin both approved an annexation agreement, whereby we would focus on properties, and they would also focus on properties for annexation that were contiguous to current primary municipal borders. This agreement did not address 2 parcels that we're speaking about tonight at the Sourwood Inn property, located at 810 Elk Mountain Scenic Highway. And the town of Woodfin has now received a voluntary annexation petition from the Sourwood Inn, and has asked that they do need the town of Weaverville approval, and within a formal annexation agreement before they can move forward with this petition. We are asking tonight, if you are interested in moving forward with the voluntary annexation petition, that you would set a public hearing, and that we would set that public hearing for April 24th at 6 p.m. here in Town Council Chambers. You do have a copy of the annexation agreement beginning on page 53, 54. You also have a copy of the map, Exhibit A, showing the property. I will note, and this was a question earlier, also you have Exhibit B, I apologize, which talks about its property description for the annexation. An earlier question was posed as to whether or not this annexation would include the Eller Cove watershed that is owned by the town. It does not. That is not impacted at all by this annexation agreement petition. Town attorney may want to add to my comments, but that is the agenda item proposed.
Should you wish to go forward, the next thing to do is to set that public hearing to allow public comment on that.
Okay. Jennifer, would you just so people understand, would you describe why our approval is needed for a Woodfin annexation?
So North Carolina law requires for satellite annexation or non-contiguous annexation, you have to get the approval of any municipal jurisdiction that is closer to those borders than you are. So in this particular, particular case, both town of Weaverville's borders and city of Asheville's borders are actually closer to this property than town of Woodfin. And so they are seeking approval from both municipalities in order to be able to go forward with this.
Okay, thank you. So is there any questions or discussion regarding this item and if we should set a public hearing? I don't think a vote is required for this, right?
You need a vote to
We do
set
need
the
a vote.
public hearing.
Would someone make a motion that we set the public hearing for this item on April 24th?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Next item up is item B, staff recommendation for the annual American Rescue Plan reporting and Finance Director Dozier.
So as you know, the town received just over $1.2 million from the American Rescue Plan Act, commonly referred to as ARPA funds. So these funds currently have them in a separate investment account. They are earning interest. They're part of the grant project fund that I report to you in my quarterly report every quarter. Last year, the Treasury Department released the final rule. The biggest change, and the one we were all excited about, was the change in the major revenue recognition, revenue replacement rule. Because prior to that, if you recall, you had to prove that you had lost revenue, and then if you moved this one for option, you had to prove that you had truly lost revenue, which we had not. So the change in this change is really big news for us. They allow standard allowance of up to $10 million. So for small jurisdictions such as ourselves, our entire allowance, our entire award can go towards this election. So recent guidance has come out from the school of government and from the league on how to ease the reporting, how to make the reporting easier, avoid additional costs. If we were to spend all this money at once, any federal spending over $750,000 in a year triggers what they call a single audit. It's like an additional small audit just on this project, just on these funds. Our PAL bill counts towards that, so we need to stay under the 750, including our PAL bill. We can avoid it with this method. We can avoid the single audit. We can avoid other federal procurement requirements and compliance that come along with spending all of this on one big project. We have the ability to use the funds on any expenditure that we normally put in our budget, anything that we normally spend our funds on that the state allows. Without this, we would not be able to spend it on streets or whatever we choose to without this revenue replacement option. And also, it would allow us freedom from the time constraints as far as when it has to be obligated and when the funds are spent. So how it works. So there's annual reporting due on April 30th of every year. So if we elect the standard deduction, $10 million standard deduction and revenue replacement option, then over the next 3 years, we would divvy up the money to stay under the 750. And for reporting purposes, we would claim that it's been spent on expenditure that we already have. What they're suggesting is salaries and wages, because everyone has it, it's our biggest expense across all departments. If we claim that for reporting purposes, essentially it frees up the money. And the money is there, it's gone through the process, you reported on it, it's free for you to spend however you choose. So really, there's no drawbacks to this, there's no disadvantages. The only time we're hearing where you might not want to do this is if your reward is over 10 million and you had actual revenue losses of over 10 million, then you might not want to take this option. This option really does free, it saves money, it frees us up to spend it however you choose. There's really no reason not to,
Okay.
in my opinion.
So this is actually an administrative savings grace here. So do you have any questions of the Finance Director?
Do we still need to, my previous understanding was we had to decide by next year on how to allocate it and then spend it by 2 years later, correct?
Just for reporting purposes, we're allocating it, we're spending it.
Now,
So that's
right.
just read it out.
Okay, got it.
Money is there for you to choose how you want to.
So all that basically went away now. Okay.
You're choosing, I think what she's suggesting is you're choosing to use it for revenue replacement, replacement, reimbursement, replacement. But then, once that goes through the process, it's still your money, it's still in your accounts, and you can use it however town council chooses to use it.
And I do want to encourage you to have those discussions soon, because what we keep hearing is you're going to be asked the question, how did the town of Weaverville spend their $1.3 million of ARPA funds? And you want to have a good answer for that. You want to have an answer that you're proud of, your town will be proud of. So it is a discussion I would encourage you to have.
Right.
Any other questions? Andrew?
So I think, appreciate that explanation. I guess my statement is really more for council. So this council will change over November, whatever. So we'll have sat on that and made no decision for over 2 years, if not 2.5 years. So I would hope this council decides how to spend this money, and we have had discussions. So I would like to see something before this council changes over, because what she's putting in place is you really never, you're spending it now and then you're going to have a surplus. It's not
Right.
So the money could sit there and do nothing. So I think I've voiced my opinion numerous times that I think it should be spent on the generators and the chlorine system for the water treatment facility. But I'll be very disappointed if we don't make a final decision on that before this council changes over.
Understood. Makes good sense.
Yeah, no, I have similar thoughts that, depending on how much that rolls up to, that would be good use if there were surplus, thinking about some of the incremental projects we've looked at to make the town better. You don't want to have it just disappear into the budget because it doesn't make much of an impact and doesn't change our behavior either. So,
Would one of you want to make a motion to that effect?
what would that look like at this point?
Yeah.
You mean
It
for,
it can wait, we can wait. I'm just asking that you brought it up.
well, I think
think there's-
Councilman Nagel has, go
So
ahead.
There are two potential actions. I think that the Dozier does need an action.
Right,
right.
A vote on the delegation of these funds to the, help me with some words here, the.
Revenue replacement.
That standard deduction.
Standard allowance.
Yes.
So let's just go ahead and take care of that. If there's no more questions for the finance director, just want to make a motion that we use our ARPA funds for revenue replacements.
So moved.
Any others? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Done. The second issue, Jennifer?
That could be to go ahead and, you could go ahead and schedule some time to talk about it. You could kind of put it, either by consensus or by action, say that you want us to bring back an agenda item at whatever time that you wish prior to November.
I do have a question. So, because it already went poof. So revenue replacement fund, I understand what that is, but I also understand that the water treatment plant is like its own profit center. So it's not a normal expense that's on the books that I'm considering the revenue replacement. Am I wrong? Please tell me I'm
Like
wrong.
salary and wages?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well,
Yeah. For every department, we have salaries and wage expense.
okay.
But I think what Catherine's referring to, correct me if I'm wrong, Catherine, is that the water fund is separate than the general budget.
Two different businesses.
Right.
Right.
And we've talked repeatedly, I agree with Andrew and Jeff, we've talked repeatedly about using that 1.2 for the generator and for the chlorine replacement. So now is that still totally possible?
It is, at the point where you make a decision, that money would move from where it is now into the water fund for that purpose. Choose to spend it on streets and move into the general fund for that purpose. So it all depends on what decision you make on how to actually spend the funds.
But what this did was free it up to the point to where we don't have to have the project done and completed by the end of 2026?
Right.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
No, it's a good,
Okay.
it's a great question because you're basically giving it we're gonna have to, these guys will figure it out, but you're right, you're gonna have to move it from one cost center to another separate financial entity. So good question.
There will be some technical things that you're going to have to approve in order to move this forward. One in particular is you've got this money currently in a grant project ordinance in very general terms. We will need to kind of update that and make sure that Tanya's limited bit of paperwork is accurate. And so my guess is in the next month or so, you're going to see some items on your consent agenda to do those types of things. And so if there is council agreement to have these funds be used for the water resiliency project, we can do that.
So can I see some nod heads that we think that this money should be used for the water resiliency project?
Yeah.
That being said, Andrew?
No, I was not in my head.
That being said, then maybe on next month's agenda, we could take care of whatever administratively has to be taken care of, and this could be an agenda item for next month to approve that. Okay? Good deal. Thank you all. Last item is our quarterly report from our Public Works Director, Director Pennell. And Dale, I can say, I think we've already blown my personal best, so you have no limitations.
No pressure
But
there.
you do have some.
On my part. Hitting some highlights of the public work report. Page 63, I wanted to bring up that last year you funded a project called water line replacement project. And that's an effort on our part to try to take some of our worst water line infrastructure and replace it and upgrade it. That project is within just 2 or 3 weeks of being completed, and the last 2 items there under water line construction inspections is that Schuster Road is 95% and Coleman Street is 50%. Those are the 2 projects, and the Coleman Street is now at 95%. We'll finish next week if the weather cooperates, so we can repave those 2 roads. So that's just an effort on our part to try to keep our system operating. And I'll show you the example of that at the bottom on page 64. Again, the very last line item, if you look for February of 23, you have an unaccounted for water expenditures last month of 1.9%. The industry standard for excellent systems is 10%. And we just had an extraordinarily good month of no leaks. No leaks. And being able to take care of these 2 water lines, we consistently had leaks that we had to find and fix, maybe part of that. So that's again, another good thing to think about.
Let me just, to give you some context to that. So I recently had a meeting with all the other mayors in the county, and Biltmore Forest loses over 30% of their water. Asheville is like 20-some%. So we were by far the lowest. So congratulations again.
Man,
Biltmore Forest buys their water from Ashland.
Yes. But apparently it leaks on the way there.
jeez.
I know the public works director for Biltmore Forest. I need him to call. On page 65, the water capacity production, which monthly usage and future usage. We're running very close to that 65% number, and we have for the last 6 or 8 months. So that means that we're the projects that are being completed and underway are keeping us very well with that. That will probably change next month with the addition of a couple projects that just approved. And then finally, on the last page, or the next one, page 66, a couple of miscellaneous things I want to mention. We purchased and now have delivered 1,500 toter garbage cans. So we have completely delivered all the new cans to all of our residences that did not have them. So now that part of the overall project is complete. The next stage will be to will be the process to get a truck and to educate our public on what, and how they need to set their garbage cans out so that we can pick them up with the trucks. We're going to be working individually with folks who haven't learned that. The second item there, nothing happens, we'll be bidding our paving project in April. And you can see the list of streets there that we're going to do. And we're going to add to that as well, some of the handicap ramps in the downtown sidewalk areas, Church Street, Central, College, Alabama. We're going to be trying to replace the handicap ramps that you have to encounter as you walk in order to make it safe for our citizens. And also, we're going to include in that paving project the addition of a handicap parking area between the restrooms and the swings down at Lake Louise. You see the orange safety fencing out down there for a little while. That's in preparation for the concrete sidewalk that will run from that parking lot around the swings and to the concrete pad where our wheelchair accessible swing is going to be installed. That's already at the office and waiting. So we're in nothing happens. That concrete is supposed to be poured this week. And then finally, I got the plans from the landscape architect last week on the recreation area. Still going to do a little reviewing on those, but in the meantime, Public Works staff has been down there in areas where we had overhanging limbs of the top of where the courts would be. We've already cut all those and chipped them and removed them. Today, they were removing the section of the old chain link fence along Lake Shore and getting that part out of the way in preparation for the picnic shelter that we're going to install. It's ordered and it's supposed to be there next week. So we're making progress toward the park as we finish these plans, and we've also met with New Power, and we've got area lights there, two that go in the parking lot of the recreation park, and then one beside the sidewalk that leads down to the community center. So when that has to be used as an overflow parking area for an evening event that we lit, so that the folks that need park up there can get to and from the community center. It's as quick as I can make it. Anything I can answer? Yes, sir.
Question, since you mentioned toters, I was eating over at Stony Knob and I noticed the Wag Bar had 4 Weaverville green cans. Do they pay for those extra or do they get their garbage picked up? How does that work for a business like that?
Yes, if they didn't have them, then they paid $55 each.
Right, and then we pick up their garbage as a course of business. They don't pay extra for the pickup, just for the toters. How many toters can I buy?
Commercial business is technically allowed 6.
Okay, so Conrad Industries, because we pay Waste Management to take our garbage. And I'm sitting there looking at Wag Bars, toters, going, we got General Equipment Rental, Thread Exchange, TSA, Emblems Inc., and Conrad Industries, not multicolor, they've got a big thing, but I'll talk to you about that. We may be interested in that. And then you'll have to tell us if our driveway is a road, because it has a 911 address on it, or how we could work through that, but thank you, appreciate it, Dale.
Any other questions for the director? Thank you for your good work, sir.
Yes.
If there's nothing else to come before this board this evening, and I don't see any, we're adjourned.